Hey folks, welcome back to Pangburn. I thought it might be fun today to critique some Jordan Peterson quotes. I'll let the room fill up a bit. And Jordan Peterson quotes. This is big business now. A lot of people constantly share and clip out Jordan Peterson quotes. They get lots of clicks, generate lots of action, also generate a lot of good, interesting intellectual discussions. So it's always fascinating to go through what Jordan has been saying, what he has said. We'll also look at his Twitter. I think we'll go through Twitter. We'll see how things go. But I know it's been a while since I've done a YouTube specific live stream, so it's good to be back. I will be doing 2 or 3 live streams per week now on YouTube, and we'll be going through topics like this. So there will be a little bit when we go through quotes in and of. I like looking at quotes in and of themselves. Of course, taking that process with a grain of salt, because there is always a greater context to any quote you examine and analyze and look at through an analytical, philosophical lens. So I think it's important to keep that in mind when we go through some of this stuff. But I think it's a fun process to go through the words themselves, and we could talk a little bit about what they might mean, or where they may be coming from. But yeah, there's been some interesting things said. I know just off the top of my head, I saw a recent clip that someone sent to me, and they said something along the lines of, Pastor Peterson is at it again. And I watched the clip, and Jordan had said something, and this might be a bit of a paraphrase, but essentially that, and then he said, there's some people that say they don't believe in hell. And then he went on to say, but if you don't know what hell is, you don't know anything. And I thought that was very interesting. I'll kind of put that bug in your ear, but it was from a recent video that Daily Wire released. Let me see if I can find it. If you don't know hell, then you don't know anything. Jordan Peterson. It's from a very recent, I think he's in Ephesus, Greece, and he's standing between 2 pillars. But I thought that was that was an interesting. Now I see what he is probably getting at, but I think it's a straw man. When people say, "I don't believe in hell," they're not talking about hell as in, a situation that essentially couldn't be any worse, a horrible situation. Like somebody gets in a car accident and all of their family dies, and the driver lives on, and they have to live with that hell. No one denies that kind of hell exists in the metaphorical sense. But when people say, when they reference hell in this sense, they're talking about the hell from Scripture, the hell of the Bible. They're talking about the so-called hell where you will burn for all eternity. This is what people are saying when they, in general, when they say, I don't believe in hell. So Jordan Peterson is kind of twisting that and, somewhat straw manning that position, because he's going after those people as though they are denying the hell that can befall someone in tragic circumstances, which I don't think people deny the existence of. So that was one thing I heard recently. What up, EAE? Michael B. Peterson. Yeah, Jordan Peterson, folks, not to be confused with Jesse Lee Peterson. I'm going to share this on Twitter and on Facebook. I haven't done that yet. Do all that social media bullshit. People are already getting into it on Discord. I'm going to open up the Discord room, the live room at some point. Then we can have a general discussion about this. Okay. There. Oh, I should have tagged Jordan. Maybe he would share it. Maybe not. But how are you guys doing, by the way? Happy New Year. How many of you have fallen out of line with your New Year's resolution already? I love it when people stand up on New Year's. I'm going to be better in this way. 10 seconds later. Nope. Yeah, people say, my New Year's resolution is to lose weight. And then, they take another guzzle of wine. That never ceases to baffle me. Clean your room, buddy. Yeah, so let's look at the 12 rules. You guys, there's a few of you in the room. Make sure you hit the like button. It just helps the algorithm. Invite all of your, Jordan Peterson fan friends and anyone. This stream is, of course, open to anyone. I'm actually also going to post. Well, let's see here. I'm going to share this to a couple Jordan Peterson fan groups that I'm a part of. Because for many different reasons, I am a fan of Jordan Peterson. I think he has stimulated probably the most intellectual battlefronts of any intellectual, at least in the past 50 years, if not, in the history of humanity, because of where we are with technology and what a phenomena Jordan Peterson has been. Let's go. We'll share there. We'll share. Ooh, what? Okay. Oh, I'm in the wrong thing here. Here we go. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of Jordan Peterson in general. And we will get started. We're going to start with the 12 rules. And I know, 12 Rules for Life has been out for a long time, a very successful book. I was lucky enough to be around Jordan when that book was just going, was starting to really take off and was going nuts. And he was, quite thrilled with that and happy. I remember him talking very positively about, about what that means for the zeitgeist and where things are at with regards to the war of ideas and he was of course happy that there were many people who found his work useful. That's not working either. That's very strange. Well, we'll go with that. EAE says, Jordan is fine with me minus his stance on religion. Usually makes sense in every other aspect. Jordan is kind of taken on this pastoral character that I haven't seen out of him in the past, and this has been quite recent. And I don't follow Jordan like some people I know. I pick up some of his stuff. I keep an eye on his Twitter somewhat, and I find it to be fascinating. I read the comments and responses to Jordan. Of course, Jordan and I strongly disagreed with each other about vaccine mandates and messaging and the trucker protest and stuff like that. But, today we're going to look at specific quotes and see what we can agree with and what we will disagree with. All right, 12 rules for life. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. I try to do that as much as I can. I have bad posture. My shoulder blades, so I've been told by doctors that my shoulder blades are too big for, the size of my chest. So it's like I'm always like hunkered forward, and I've been that way my whole life. Like if you look at videos of me from when I was a child, like I got this, bit of a hunch. I look like Quasimodo sometimes when I'm walking fast and really not focusing on my posture. But I know Jordan is more getting at what that means metaphysically, not just physically. But there is something about that when you're going out into the world and you're going out for a walk and reminding yourself to be open to experience, and standing up straight with your shoulders back gives you this nice open position to what your experience has in store for you. So yes, good. And I know, and I would think that he is also referring to. It's been a long time since I've read his book, so I only did read it once. So, but I think like also this idea of your presentation. How does this how will your presentation be perceived? If you're slouched over and closed in on yourself, or if your shoulders are back, and again, open for experience. This reminds me of the theater world, my theater days, my acting days, where, we would often talk about postures and openness and what that looks like in the body, what that can feel like in the body. And maybe some of this does come from, I know Jordan Peterson has a bit of a theater background, but I wonder if some of this also comes from a little bit of that training and what it means to be open, to your scene partners, being those who you might interact with when you're out playing out your experience. Let me just... where's that window? I don't know why that's looking like that, but oh well, that's okay. Sean Sullivan says, Jordan is fine with me minus his stance on religion. I think he's utilizing psychology to understand the deeper philosophical ideas in religious ideas is not a bad thing. Yeah, that stuff's fine. Fine with me. Examining religion through the lens of psychology, trying to understand where humans are getting this information from. It does. I don't know what your opinion is on this, Sean, but it does seem as though he, to some degree, he will say, like in his conversation with Sam Harris, that he doesn't know where this is coming from. And Sam Harris is like, well, the same place where Shakespeare is deriving his information, like that same, meta space, and Jordan Peterson, it seems as though he tends to think that it's something greater beyond where Shakespeare is abstracting from. EAE says his daughter is beautiful. Yeah, she's good looking. I'll give her that. Just gonna close this. I did. Actually, I picked a quote that I put as the thumbnail for this video. And this is what, and look, some of this, you guys, I'm going to be looking at what people have claimed to be Jordan Peterson quotes. And if they aren't, just, you can disregard that. So Jordan apparently says, a harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a dangerous man who has that under control, So a harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a dangerous man who has that under control. Well, let's look at that. A harmless man is not a good man. Well, let's think of let's think if that is absolutely true. Let's examine what you think makes a good man. For me, it would be someone who is maximizing well-being for themselves and those around them. Now, can someone who is harmless maximize well-being for themselves and those around them? Sure. Can someone who can't really do anything for themselves by reason of physical depravity, can they still be a good man? Sure. So I would tend to disagree with this. I think a harmless man can be a good man. That could be, Sean says, that could be because the stories in the Bible, which are updates of even older stories, are way older than Shakespeare and yet just as insightful. But that is just a hypothesis. Yeah, I wouldn't say they're just as insightful. I mean, Shakespeare is the god of poetic verse as far as I'm concerned. And, what I see in the Bible is, there's some interesting stories, fables, things like that, but it's not literary genius in the category of Shakespeare. I mean, Sean, please feel free to point me towards some verse, stories, or whatever that you think is comparable to Shakespeare, and I'm happy to potentially change my mind about that. But yeah. Yeah, and you're saying Jung said the truly moral person is the person capable of doing horrible things but chooses not to. Yeah, I think that's a bit of that's just wrong, Just because someone is capable of doing horrible things but restrains themselves doesn't make them any more good in my book. It's just because someone is incapable of doing horrible things, again, is not a testament to whether they are good or not. So I think this is a horrible metric at which to measure what is a good man. So I think, I would disagree strongly on this quote from Jordan. So far, everyone do understand that I am a fallibilist, and I mean, I believe we are all fallible, but some people believe that, they believe that they have found something to be infallible about, but I would caution against that. In a more colloquial sense, you could always be wrong. So I think that's a good maxim. I mean, I put it in my first book that certainty is almost certainly unattainable. And it's just something that reminds me that, whenever I'm feeling, dogmatically certain about something, whenever I feel that, it's okay to say, it might otherwise be the case. So 12 rules for life. We'll take a look. Stand up straight. Okay, we did the first one. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. 2, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. I like this. It's I would say it a little bit differently, but treat yourself like someone you're responsible for helping. Helping is great. Helping, when I talk about my moral quest and my moral foundation, my moral quest, by the way, is stated that I wish to maximize well-being for myself and those around me. Now, by well-being, I am using well-being in the same sense that someone like Sam Harris or Matt Dillahunty or Richard Dawkins or people like that are using well-being, meaning functionality of body and mind with regards to serving your purposes. So if you go to the doctor and you say, I feel like I feel like I'm going to die. And then, or I feel like I'm going to die, but, I want to die. If your purpose truly is that you want to die, then, there's nothing really to do with regards to your purpose. You're on your way. But in most cases, most people are operating under the 2 fundamental presuppositions that life is preferential to death and health is preferential to sickness. And we tend to presuppose that even for people who say otherwise. We tend to categorize them as being not of sound mind. So you go into the doctor's office and there's a well-being calculus that plays out. The doctor is going to consider the wellness of your mind and the wellness of your body, the physical and the mind. And just to jump into that a little bit, you may feel as though you are in great health, but the readings and the scans that are taken of your physical vehicle show that you are being eaten alive by some vicious malignancy. And then on the other hand, you may feel as though you are being eaten alive by a vicious malignancy, but you are in, this is, your mind is creating this problem. That is, of course, what I believe is born out of the physical brain of your nervous system. But I know some people think that. Some people are dualistic in that sense where they think mind and body is even either physically or metaphysically separate. But I don't want to get too deep into that, but I wanted to help you understand what I mean by well-being. So I think this is kind of a bit of a well-being rule or a maxim that Jordan is outlining. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. So be responsible for helping yourself. This is good, and this is in line with my maxim to maximize well-being for yourself and those around you. Although Jordan's quote is more focused on himself. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. Make sure you drop a like. I'm going to be here around this time of day now, 2 to 3, maybe 4 times per week. So feel free to join me. These will be real chill dives into different things. I'm going to do a bit of this. This critiquing quotes might turn into a small mini series. So we might go through different intellectuals and do what we're doing today and take a analytical But yeah, make sure you guys drop a like. Just take a second. It helps the algorithm out. All right. Make friends with people who want the best for you. Make friends with people who want the best for you. I think this is a good dream. Do you guys think that this is a unrealistic goal with regards to friendship? That they want the best for you? And guys, I will if you're on our Discord, I'm likely going to be opening up the lines here at some point. I'm currently sitting in the live hangout room, so if you hang out there, I'll be I should get to opening the lines. So yeah, make friends with people who want the best for you. Make friends with people who want the best for you. I think it's actually perfectly fine to be friends with those who may not want the best for you. Friendship, empathetically, I feel as though friendship is something you can give to people who may need it or want it and may not reciprocate that same thing back to you. You know, that can all be very confusing, but I still find that it feels good to give people friendship, even if I don't believe they want the best for me. Maybe they want, some things for you, but they also might disagree with you so wholeheartedly on some aspect of what you do, where at that area they would want to see you fail. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay to be friends with people that, for instance, I am friends with many Christians, but they would like to see, some of them would like to see my call to rationalism, my call to dismiss belief in the existence of gods and save that to be more of a metaphysical endeavor or a metaphorical endeavor. They would probably want to see me fail in that pursuit, especially the fundamentalist Christians. Or perhaps I have decided to work with someone or produce an event with an intellectual that person might hate. So they might want to see that event fail, but they're still worthy of my friendship, in my view. So I would disagree with Jordan. I would say make friends with people. Make friends with people who need a friend. I don't think we need to go around looking for the best of the best for ourselves. That would be my take on that. Rebel Science. Does it matter what diet he follows? Listen to him literally lying in his video. I agree with this one. All friendship need to be proven. Bloody says. Bloody says, true friendships stand the test of time, and real friends grill and roast you, and vice versa. Yeah, but Bloody, my question would be, can you not be my friend, or isn't it good to be my friend, even though I know you to be a Christian who has a much different worldview? You wouldn't want necessarily the best for me generally, right? You might want the best for my well-being, Um, but um, but yeah, like I was saying, like in ideological pursuits, intellectual pursuits, you would likely not want the best for me. But I don't think that would uh, harness back my ability to be a friend or to give you friendship. So yeah, I would disagree with that. You know, I Jordan says make friends with people who want the best for you. I would say something more like make friends with people who need a friend. I try to do that anytime I'm out there in the regular world, outside the Pangburn universe. I I try to make friends with people on the street, people who I engage in discussions with, or I try to help. Yeah, sure, they're my friend. Oh, but you've just met them. Sure. I mean, I'm friendly with them. They can consider me a friend. Even though I just met them. Um, and then there's a concept of like, okay, well, what's the difference between that kind of friend and a friend that you maybe see regularly and speak with regularly and exchange birthday gifts with or something like that? You might call that your best friend, right? This is kind of how we talk about this colloquially. But even though there's a hierarchy of friends, I think we should be open to giving our friendship to those that may or may not want the best for you in some way. Okay, number 4. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. Why would you compare yourself to who you were yesterday? Let's think about that. Is this a necessary exercise? Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. And why do this? What are you trying to discover? Are you trying to figure out whether you are better in some way than you were yesterday? Doing more, achieving more? I'm not sure people have a good handle on who they are. When you say yourself, I mean, physics and metaphysics will tell us that this is just an ever-changing adventure. So if you look to compare yourself to who you are today, I mean, it's not the same. It's not the same person. It's not the same entity. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. And then, of course, he goes on to say, not to who someone else is today. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is I think there's this illusion that you yourself yesterday is comparable to yourself today. I mean, maybe at some pragmatic level, some people might find this useful. And of course, if Jordan's talking about thinking about your past experience and applying it today and seeing, anything comparable to those experiences and how you might, what you've learned, maybe. But if that's what he means, I think this is poorly written. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. And on the other hand, he is saying who you were yesterday. He's not necessarily saying, that you are, that you were the same. But there is a presupposition that these two things are comparable. Now let's look at the concept of comparison. A consideration or estimate of the similarities or dissimilarities between two things or people. So he's asking you to consider or estimate the similarities or dissimilarities oh, you guys are arguing. Sorry, I wanted to do that. And by the way, guys, we're going to be slowly moving through concepts in these sessions, so feel free to strap in and relax and chill out. So a consideration. So Jordan's asking you to consider or estimate the similarities or dissimilarities of yourself, as to who you were yesterday. So the estimated similarities or dissimilarities to who you were yesterday. And why would we do this? To kind of like follow change or the rate of change. Yeah, that's interesting. EAE says Jordan Peterson is to men what Oprah is to women. Hot take. And is that a bad thing, EAE? I mean, a lot of women would attribute, a lot of good things in their life to Oprah and some things that she said or some content she produced that really inspired them, maybe an interview she did. So, depending on what you mean by that may be a compliment to maybe a slight. I think that could be taken in multiple different ways. Sean says it's an injunction not to be envious of those who may appear to have it better than you because they may have problems you have no idea about. And also it's an injunction to see what you can do better than you were yesterday. Well, if that's the case, maybe to be more clear, he should say, do better than you did yesterday. Because he's more, this idea of comparison is stopping me up a little bit. And then Bloody says, Travis, one must accustom to make a daily introspection about oneself in regards to the way one is progressing or regarding in life. No, that's not. Now, I'm all for clarifying the mind, but you want to make sure that this clarification process is not something that will become a burden to you. If you start, like, people will be like, I introspect every second of every day. I'm always constantly introspecting, or I'm doing this daily. It's like, no, just live your life, and this is kind of like it's like, this is where skepticism can turn into cynicism, right? Where you're like, I'm skeptical of everything. Well, that's impossible. If you try to be skeptical of everything, you will die. You will die by that nature. Anything is the proper answer. So it's like, it's like, feel free to compare yourself to, the comparison thing for some reason is hard for me to get over. But I think Jordan might mean this very, very pragmatically, Oh, it's telling me that the chat disconnected. Are you guys still there? Must have had a dip in my signal. Give me a little thumbs up or something if you guys can still hear me. Check, check, 1, 2. Are you guys still there? I wonder if chat got disabled for some reason. I don't want to raise any alarm bells, but spooky things happen whenever I stream on YouTube and talk about Jordan Peterson. Check 1. Check 1. Are you guys there? Check, check, check. Very strange. Let me know if you guys are there. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Very strange. Let me know if you guys are there. Oh, okay. I'm not seeing you on my screen, but I'm seeing you guys on my phone screen. Ah, interesting. What up, Zemo? Yeah, I'll have to read the chat on my phone here instead of being able to read it on my computer screen. That's okay. I don't know what happened there. Damn it. Okay. Well, I'm going to stand this up the best I can. Cool. Yeah, so let me know what you guys think of that rule of Jordan's. So let's move on to number 5 here. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. Well, right off the bat, I think we're going to run into major issues here with this rule. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. Okay. Do anything. How about the father who does not approve of homosexuality and their child is a homosexual. Do not let your children. It's like you don't have control over that. Maybe they're. Yeah, but it's just poorly worded if he means something otherwise. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. Yeah, this is just a real bad prescription. Very strange. You don't have you don't get to say what your children do or do or do not do. They're just going to, do things. They're at the mercy of their pleasure drive and the hierarchy derived from that, just like you are. You're going to disagree with things that they do, but it's more on how, the father or mother, the parent, examining why these things their children do cause them to dislike them. Yeah, Zemo, you ask a great question here. How are you going to prevent your kids from doing anything you don't want them to do? Bloody says, true, Travis, but it is the parent's job as a parent to discipline their children as to not become a homosexual or lesbian. Well, you know, of course, Bloody, that many people, I mean, if we went back, 150, 200 years, Bloody, you would find a lot more people agreeing with you, but now and I strongly disagree with you. It's like you don't discipline your children out of becoming a homosexual or lesbian. Like you stated, they are those things, right? They didn't choose to be homosexual. That's the best evidence we have anyway. But that's something that, and it's interesting that you said that, Vladi, that this maxim or rule very much, I think, comes from Christianity, this idea of like control over your children, that, you will have the authority to tell them what to do and what not to do. And so that means you'll be able to not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. That's a very bad rule, Jordan. Not well thought out. I think it's descriptively quite stupid, because it's a bad description of what those relationships are and what happens in reality. And then it's also like the prescription is just, the interest should be in the maximizing the child's well-being. And, if they're doing something antithetical to that, you should dislike that, but you shouldn't dislike them. Like if your children kill people, if they murder people, like I'm imagining if, okay, my child has murdered 10 people and they're in jail. My understanding of physics and metaphysics, if you will, it's like the child was determined to do these things. They're a victim of their biology, just like any of us are. So on a very high level meta sense, I don't think they could have chosen otherwise. But playing in this illusion of free will, I think even if they made those choices, I don't dislike them for being wrong or doing bad things. I dislike and I think that, what they have done is evil, but I don't think people themselves are evil. I don't think a person can be evil, but they can do evil things, I think there's a differentiation there that's important. EAE says, Rule 6, Skyrim is the greatest RPG ever created. It's a great game. If you consider World of Warcraft an RPG, though, I know it's a MMO, but I think it's RPG as well, then I don't think it holds anything to World of Warcraft, but that's for a whole nother debate, my friend. So yeah, number 5 is a dud there, Jordan, in my view. Let me know if you guys disagree. Number 6, set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. Oh, wow. Perfect order. This is a unreasonable, irrational command of oneself. Perfect. There is no perfect order of things, as far as I can tell. And Jordan would obviously agree with that. And, imperfect people are the only people who will criticize the world, because there's imperfection in all of us, and in all of our houses. An imperfect person cannot have a perfect house. Because they don't know what that is. So there is no perfect order of a home. And, of course, people will criticize Jordan in saying, like, well, you criticize the world and look at your house. I know people that have raised that critique, and I think they're right. They're just pointing out to Jordan. They're not necessarily saying to Jordan in that critique that he should stop criticizing the world. They're saying, like, well, you're doing it right now. And what you are asking for this perfection, what do you, was the character of Jesus, did the character of Jesus Christ have their house in perfect order? I mean, if that's the case, someone please show me the verse where this is claimed. Yeah, you guys, just so you know, if you swear or say retarded or anything like that, YouTube is going to block your text. And because I'm moving between my phone and the computer, because everything's, for some reason things got fucked up, just try to blank out your curse words or whatever, just so I don't miss your comment. I'll try to keep an eye on it though. So yeah, set your house in perfect order. There is no such thing as perfect order as far as I can tell, before you criticize the world. So this is a poor maxim. This is a poor rule. So 5 and 6, yeah, like 3 so far. I like 1 and 2. Well, I think 1 and 2 are great. And then so far 3, 4, 5, 6 are failures, based on my interpretation. So, and again, guys, we're doing analytic philosophy in the sense where we're just looking, we're We're looking at the words as they are written in these quotes that we see, these quote images and all kinds of stuff. And again, someone might create an incorrect quote on one of these images, so feel free to point that out. But we're kind of just going through this as an exercise, right? Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. Pursue what is meaningful. Well, that's a nice, it's a nice dream. So pursue what is meaningful. What is meaningful is going to be born out of your, the process of your pleasure drive and the hierarchy that it creates. Some people would call this the meaning hierarchy, but I think there are some things in there, in the pleasure hierarchy, there are some things that people would want to point to and say, that gives me meaning, that gives me meaning, but that doesn't. That's just something that maybe it's they have this BDSM hardcore sex fetish that's like always at the top of what they want to be doing, but they have to really try to mitigate that so that they can still be productive to the rest of their purposes. So you're going to have this pleasure hierarchy, and some of those things are going to be what you consider meaning. So in Jordan is saying, pursue what is meaningful. Meaningful. Well, let's look at the concept of meaningful. Having meaning, having a serious, important, or useful quality or purpose. Having a serious, important, or useful quality or purpose. So all of these pursuits will be serving some kind of purpose. One thing I know is that it will be derived from the pleasure calculus. So, but a step above that, pursue what is meaningful. Yeah, I think what Jordan is kind of getting at, not what is expedient. He's kind of reminding us to take into consideration the options presented to you on the pleasure hierarchy and those things that give you a greater meaning. In that process of considering it, you're going to trigger, changes to the pleasure hierarchy. So, this isn't, this is pretty good. It's very vague. And of course, his chapter would provide further explanation. Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. Well, I disagree with that part. Ultimately, I want people to maximize well-being for themselves and those around them. This is the moral quest that I would hope all of you would have at the basis of your ethic. And what that does, by the way, if you maximize well-being for yourself and those around you, you're not pushing your purposes, like the meanings, onto them. You're just helping them to be in a state of good health, body and mind health, in order to better serve their purposes. So why would I maximize well-being? I'm an atheist. Why would I maximize well-being for a Christian? Well, because it makes me feel good to help them serve their purposes, even if I will argue with them about whether their purposes are going to be good for the overall well-being of humanity or not. And of course, they're going to argue with me and be like, well, you can, the presuppositionalists will say, well, you can't even say anything because you don't start with God and things like that. And we'll disagree at that level. But I still want those people to at least be healthy. That's really all we're talking about. make sure you guys drop a like on this stream. It really does help the algorithm out. Okay. And share it if you belong to any Jordan Peterson fan groups. Feel free to share. So he finishes this off. Rule 7: pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. No, I say pursue what is meaningful, even if it's expedient. And let's work with this concept of expedient. Convenient and practical, although possibly improper or immoral. So just because something's possibly improper or immoral, it doesn't mean that it is. So you do have to, with regards to meaning, meaning isn't necessarily going to be morally checked for some people, or it might be going through a moral screening that you completely disagree with and think is terrible and whatnot. So yeah, based on whoever the subject is, it could be improper or moral through their lens. But it's okay to pursue meaning or things that are less meaningful, that are convenient and practical. That's okay. I would just say it gets into being a bad pursuit if it's acting antithetically against your well-being or other people's well-being. That should be the calculus. So yeah, this one, I think he kind of crushes it. He kind of says like, well, meaning that is expedient shouldn't be prioritized. Don't even pursue those things. He's saying not what is expedient. So he's just again descriptively wrong, because that is what we will do. That is what we do. And then the prescription is to not do that thing and focus on the pleasure drives that are that we would map meaning onto, that aren't expedient. So yeah, there is no escape, by the way, from the hedonistic calculus. If someone can show me something that emerges out of a mind that has escaped the hedonistic calculus of pleasure, please, I will change my mind if you can demonstrate this to me. But don't come at me with the soldier who sacrifices himself for his country. No. Think about why we do what we do and not other things. Why you move the way you do and not in the essentially infinite other ways you could have moved, or the essentially infinite amount of ways that you could have presented yourself, as opposed to what you actually did. Lexicon, thank you so much for the super chat. Says quote is relating to eudaimonic and hedonic pleasure. Yeah, for sure. Bloody says, Travis, please answer, what is the meaning of life? Okay, we'll do that quickly. First of all, I think everyone does in fact come to create their own meaning, even if they abstract that from what someone else has written or told them or whatever. Like you, Bloody, you have abstracted the meaning. You've come to Christian doctrine. You chose it. You chose it because it made you feel good, and it satisfied your sentiments. Whereas for me, I didn't choose it. It did not satisfy my sentiments. So what's the difference between you and I with regards to meaning? Feelings. That's all it is feelings. But my meaning, I derive from my moral quest, which is derived from two fundamental presuppositions. I presuppose that life is preferential to death. I don't want to be dead. And health is preferential to sickness. I don't want to be sick. Now, almost every other human being will agree with me on that. Those of sound mind. There's going to be outliers where someone will be like, no, I want to die, or they're not, or sometimes there are people who are agnostic to that. And they're like, I'm not sure that life is preferential to death. I'm going to keep doing it, but I'm not convinced yet. Some people have had horrific experiences. So from those two fundamental presuppositions, how do I best go about living instead of dying and being healthy instead of sick? Well, that's where the well-being model comes in. Well, if we're going to create a model of what gives me the best chance at achieving those two fundamental presuppositions, let's call it something. So we've called it well-being. And what does that include? Well, it includes the wellness of your physical self, everything physical. Do you have a brain tumor? Do you have broken arm? Do you have skin cancer? Do you have, all of this stuff? And we're going to need a method at which to figure out exactly what is going on with this physical object. And we use the scientific method for that, medical science. And then we got the impossible task of dealing with the other part of well-being, which is the wellness of mind, feeling good about yourself. This is this is derived from the mind. Wellness of body and mind. That model, whatever you want to call it, is going to give us the best chance at living instead of dying and being healthy instead of sick. So I would state to you that my meaning is actually my moral quest, which is what gives you meaning? Well, to maximize well-being for myself and those around me. That gives me meaning. And of course, there are many different meanings, like particular and specific meanings abstracted from that. But that's at the bottom layer. I just described to you how that emerges from those two fundamental presuppositions. Oh, and we can go one step lower, of course. If someone says, well, why do you want to live instead of die and be healthy instead of sick? Because feelings, I feel that way. It may come, it may be the case that one day I come to not feel that way. And unfortunately that does happen. And people seek death instead of life and sometimes seek sickness instead of health. And luckily, based on my worldview, we live in a world where people feel this empathetic need and rush to want to jump in and maximize other people's well-being because it's part of their moral quest. But all of this is derived from your feelings. I would say to you, Bloody, that you are a Christian because of feelings. You at some point said, yeah, this is good. This makes me feel good. Or this feels right. It feels, it makes you feel something. And that's why you're there. Okay. Let's look at number 8. Tell the truth, or at least don't lie. That's a funny one. So tell the truth. As a moral maxim, it's not a good one because there are many circumstances where, for me, and when I say it's not a good one, of course, I'm speaking from my sense of good, right? I use well-being calculus. You could act antithetically towards someone's well-being on the grand scale by telling them the truth. For example, I'll use this example that I tend to point to. It's the dying child on the bed. They're they have an inoperable brain tumor, and they're moments, maybe days away from death. And let's imagine myself as the father, and I don't believe in an afterlife. I as far as I can tell, I think we are, we're physical beings just like a squirrel is. And, when a squirrel dies, I think the lights just go out, the nervous system stops functioning, and the brain, our experience flickers off. And we, from a phenomenological perspective, we return to a state which we were in before we were born, right? Our experience flipped on. Whoa, this is crazy. And then our experience flips off. And that's basically what life is. The key to solving the hard problem, by the way. Where can we find that physical representation of experience? But yes, so my daughter's dying on the bed. She looks up at me and says, "Daddy, tell me that you believe you're going to be with me in heaven, and that I'm going to be there with all the angels, and Mommy's going to be there, and Rover, that's the dog in this scenario, is going to be there, and we're all going to be happy together." And and I'm looking down at my dying child, and I don't believe that's going to happen, but I'm going to lie to my child to give her whatever kind of peace I can in that moment. And I'm sure many would do the same, even if they profess otherwise. And, you got to try and put yourself in that scenario. How would you really, truly act when you're in that scenario? I would say it would be immoral to crush that final reaching of your child for some additional comfort in their last moments. And I've talked to some like hardcore rationalists and empiricists about this, and they kind of sit there and they're like, oh, I would use this as an opportunity to like tell this like this story, and instead of just lying to your daughter to make them, to err on the side of caution and give them give them what they want, swallowing the pride of your truth. Tell the truth, or at least don't lie. All of whether you're going to tell the truth or not must go through your moral calculus. Yeah. I think, I would like to hear from you guys what other scenarios you can think of where you think it would be the best course of action to lie. Of course, I'm going to lie to terrorists, if they're trying to find my children or something, or if they abduct me, or if they abduct my child, I will tell them whatever they want to hear in order to get my child back. Right? I don't give a shit about lying in that case. I will lie about anything to get my child back. So, this idea, I mean, I'll do a critique at some point on Sam Harris's little novella about lying, where he kind of approaches it in this absolutist sense, but I think that's coming from like a very silver spoon-fed outlook on reality, and a real lack of consideration, moral consideration, especially in his case where he claims to be a moral well-beingist. So yeah, this is a bad. This is another poor rule for life. On its own, right? You guys, and we're just analyzing these quotes as they are written today, and feel free to disagree with me, of course. Make sure you guys drop a like if you're new to the stream. I think we'll be going for a while here. So yeah, tell the truth or at least don't lie. No, only in, there are cases where you should lie. There are cases where you should not tell the truth. So as a maxim or a rule for life, it's a stupid rule. Number 9, assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. Assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. You don't, that they might know something that you don't. Assume that the person you are listening to. Sure, yeah, of course that's possible. It's possible that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. Yeah, I wonder why he used assume there. I wouldn't use that word. Yeah. Yeah. Suppose it to be the case that that the person you are listening to might know something. Yeah. I think this is a good rule. I agree with this. So 1, 2, and 9. Do you guys have any objections to Rule 9? Assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. I think this is a good assumption to make. Jordan uses language a lot differently than I would use it. So I would say it is possible that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. Yeah. And then, this gets into, and this is so true because you have to understand that, you have to understand that people's epistemological criteria of truth are going to be, there's going to be many different versions of this. So many different ideas of what it means to know something. So you should always, even if it's just by their own, from their own perspective, that they know something that you don't. And from your perspective, they don't know something you don't. Be open to the possibility that the person you're listening to might know something you don't. Or as Jordan puts it, assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. Good. So 1, 2, okay, and let's recap. I agree with stand up straight with your shoulders back for the reasons I talked about earlier. I agree with treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. And then I also agree with this, assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. Good. Be precise in your speech. Well, it depends what you're speaking about. And let's look precise. Marked by exactness and accuracy of expression of detail. Exact, accurate, and careful about details. I think it's better to dare to be wrong in your speech. You want to clarify your meaning, of course. But what do you guys think of being precise in your speech, and how much? Yeah, I mean, in the sense of like, you want to make sure you get across what you mean. But if you're speaking about, if you're speaking about an experience you've had, let's say your child being born, preciseness in your speech isn't the important thing, is it? It's being precise in the speech. It's in how you speak about the experience. And I don't think it has to be precise. Lexicon says, I think number 10 is by far the rule that he violates himself the most. Yeah, like, he'll say something and then he'll be directly quoted, and then his audience will come in and say, well, that's not what he meant. He meant more like this. So yeah, like being precise in their speech. When we can't be, what about when we can't be precise? When preciseness, what I think of when I talk to people about the music I write, and they're like, I'll say something like, the pool of light that was above her seemed to be the only light in the universe. When with regards to that lyric and how I wrote it about her, when I'm like, it seemed to be in that moment that's what the experience felt like. And then someone will be like, well, are you being precise enough with your speech? Maybe not. But what I think is important here is that you understand that something in my experience transcended me to need to abstract this onto the page and through the piano. And then someone might be like, it's still not, so being precise in your speech. Yeah, I don't know what, precise, preciseness. I don't think I'm there with him on that. It's like, precise, be clear. Yeah, I think like I would say like be clear, easy to perceive, understand, or interpret, transparent, unclouded. Yeah, be clear in your speech. I think precise is the wrong word, the wrong concept with regards to speech. And I think Jordan's a living embodiment of that, right? It's like if you try to be precise with your speech like he does, and he professes as much, like, oh, I try to be as precise as I can with my speech. And then people will quote him, and then people will be like, no, that's not what he meant. And I'm sure lots of people will make comments on this video saying like, you missed the meaning, or you missed, but I'm just precisely going by what is written here. I'm trying my best. So be precise in your speech. No, I think we should be clear with our speech. And clear can sometimes mean, it's very clear that, or the experience is clear to me here of what you experienced, even though I cannot speak of it precisely. And that's kind of why we have art, It's like when our words fail us, when our speech fails us, this is what that experience sounded like to me. This is what this experience looked like to me. This is what the experience tasted like. So Masha says maybe be direct. Don't use more words than are necessary. Yeah, that's good too. Directness. Hmm. Yeah, well, I think I definitely disagree with Rule 10. Be precise in your speech, and maybe be direct. The issue I have with direct is sometimes we can't really be direct about some of these experiences when we're trying to convey them. It's kind of all over the place, even if we try artistically. But can we make it clear? We can make it clear to ourselves, but of course someone else might come along and say, just like Jordan deals with the preciseness of his speech, someone else might come along and say, um, that isn't clear to me what you meant by this in your experience. But easy to perceive is the thing I like about clearness. Easy to perceive. So I think really make your speech easy to perceive, or be clear in your speech. Okay, there's 10. Number 11, do not bother children when they are skateboarding. Okay, this one's gets a bit esoteric. I think I know what he means by this. You know, kids playing is not, kids playing in general is not bad, even if it's noisy and maybe a bit disruptive to your purposes. So do not bother children when they are skateboarding. Now, there is also the side to this, and this is very interesting. This is a very, I think this is a very liberal rule from Jordan. What do you guys think? Yeah, of course, I think this must be taken as a metaphor. We don't have to get into the art of skateboarding in particular, but do not bother children when they are skateboarding. Children at play. Skateboarding, is meant to mean children at play. Don't bother children when they're at play. Yeah, that's a. Masha says, number 11, don't be a Karen. Now, is this a good general rule for life? If we are to take this to mean, do not bother children when they are at play. Look, you're going to eventually have to bother children when they are at play. Again, I think Jordan's meaning like when it's not necessary, do not bother children when they are skateboarding. But as a maxim, do not bother children when they are skateboarding. Do not bother children when they are at play. I think he means whenever necessary, whenever. try to preserve, again, I just don't think this is very well written. Try to preserve an environment, or try to foster an environment where children can play unbothered, something, but, or how else could we say this? I agree with Lexicon. Masha's "Don't be a Karen" is really funny. Again, it's not very clear. It's like imagine, okay, your children are skateboarding and you see one of them do something dangerous, like too dangerous, like they're lining up. Here we go. They're lining up to do like an ollie against a real sharp edge where it's like a 20-foot drop on the other side. No, please bother children when they are skateboarding in that way. So, this is another poor maxim, poorly thought out maxim or rule. No, children may need to be bothered when they are skateboarding. So if he said children may need to be bothered while skateboarding, but let them do it. Sure. Let them skateboard. Let them play. But you may need to bother them. This is kind of like a liberal virtue signal, like, yeah, I'm the cool guy letting the kids skateboard, and that's all. And I'm not going to bother them. So that's all fine and dandy as a rule for life, until children get influenced to start doing some real dangerous shit, like emulating Jackass films and stuff like that. So no, Jordan, you may need to bother children when they are skateboarding. And even as a general rule, someone's like, well, generally do not bother children when they are skateboarding. Not necessarily. Skateboarding is a dangerous sport. Does the kid have the proper protective equipment on? Again, like I was saying, are they doing death-defying tricks when they're really only a year into learning? What are the other considerations for child safety? Nah, not a good maxim in my view. I'm the cool guy. So, Jordan, I do disagree with you on that. Everyone else, please let me know. And if you guys come to this video after the fact, which of course most of you will, this is a very bad time to be live streaming when all of you are at work. But if you guys disagree with me on any of these things, please tell me precisely, like Jordan says, where you disagree. And we can continue these discussions in the comment section below. All right, number 12. Pet a pussy cat. It doesn't say pussy. Pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. Okay, let's think of this. For those of you who have traveled to some countries where they have a cat problem, where there's too many cats, like you'll literally look down the road and you'll see just like a sea of cats. Don't, of course, pet a cat when you encounter one on the street if it looks to be unhealthy. You shouldn't do that. Lexicon, that's a good comment. If we are to think of the greater meaning beyond what Jordan is getting at here, pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. Enjoy the little things, says Lexicon. And allow yourself to enjoy the your environment, the things around you, even if they are even if they're by some scale little. That's interesting. The enjoying the little things. That's an interesting concept to play with. What really are the little things? Well, and I think these are going to be different for everyone, which is very interesting. But like when I'm walking on near really old architecture, like I'm like taking in every pebble and crack and every bit of that structure that I can take in when I'm I want to touch it. I want to know what it feels like. I have this impulse to want to like take a little piece of it home with me. May says, no, that's a dumb quote. Don't pet random animals. Yeah, but let's also try to, I agree with you. Some animals that are not trained to be pet, even if you come at them in the way they say, oh, with a domesticated dog, put your hand out, palm down so that they know it's not aggressive. But there are animals out there that haven't been trained this way that might bite you. So yeah, if we're to take this literally, do not pet a cat when you encounter one on the street as a general rule. So kind of the antithesis of what Jordan's writing here. But if we're to say, like Lexicon said, as this abstraction from this, enjoy the little things. Are there little things? I think that's phenomenological. That's just based on what every subject will notice. I mean, to tell my niece that this little snake on the ground is a little thing and somehow insignificant than the things bigger than it, or insignificant to this structure, or whatever you want to point to, whatever form, then, she's just going to say, maybe to you. So maybe what Jordan's saying here more is slow down. But if he is saying that, why didn't he write that down precisely? Or if he is saying, because we're talking about rules for life here. That's an area where we're not fucking around, right? You would hope that these rules would be written in a way where, in 10,000 years, someone would come to Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life and read it and say, wow, these people were really primitive. He had to write down that you should pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. Yeah. Yeah, I get that, Lexicon, but there's a lot of, if these are the rules, which I believe they are, the rules should explain the meaning in themselves, as opposed to, because I'm sure Jordan, of course, well, he does. He goes on to explain what he means. But if this was to be handed to, like I said, someone, down the road, and let's study Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, there would be much confusion. And it reminds me of what some of these, one thing we'll look at is we'll do a quote, we'll critique some guru quotes, and that'll be a lot of fun, because sometimes these guys will say, you are alive and also dead. No, I'm not. Well, you have to think of what they might be meaning. No, I'm being facetious, but those are really fun to explore as well. Okay, so This rule here, very unclear. I disagree with, if you read this analytically, pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. Even when you abstract some things, it's like slow down. In some cases, not in all cases. Pay attention to the little things. Well, sometimes you don't have the fucking time. So as a rule for life, I disagree with that one. So I agreed with 9, 2, and 1. So Jordan gets a 3 out of 12 score from me. What do you guys give Jordan? Write in the comment section. Do you give him a 12 out of 12, 8 out of 12, 3 out of 12, 2 out of 12, 0 out of 12? Let me know. How long has this been going? Well, we'll pick up a couple more tweets here. Or, memes. Am I on the right window here? Okay, Jordan Peterson, this is a quote from him. I've never read these, by the way. We're just kind of soaring through what I can find here. I don't tell people you're okay the way you are. That's not the right story. The right story is you're way less than you could be. So Sean gives Jordan a 12 out of 12. Lexicon gives 5 out of 12 with minor edits. Oh, and 2 out of 12 without edits. Okay. Yeah, you guys make sure you drop your score in. What do you give Jordan as a score for his first 12 rules for life? And basically meaning, how many do you think are good and the rest that you think are not good, versus the ones you think are not good? Okay, let's look at this quote again. I don't tell people you're okay the way you are. That's not the right story. The right story is you're way less than you could be. Again, I'm going to judge this through my my moral foundation, my moral quest. Okay, so we're talking about interacting with those around us. So again, my moral quest is to maximize well-being for myself and those around me. So he says, I don't tell people you're okay the way that you are. Well, sometimes you should tell them that. You might make them feel good. Sometimes someone might need to hear that. They might be beating themselves up for some stupid reason. I got some more. So Omar West says 12 out of 12 when read by a rational thinker, 0 out of 12 when taken literally. Masha says 12 out of 12 imposed on others, 0 out of 12 imposed on myself. Very good. I don't tell people you're okay the way you are. Yeah, you should. When are some times where we tell someone they're okay the way they are? Imagine they were let's think of some scenarios. Okay, imagine they're being tormented by some kind of ailment. Let's say they have one leg, right? And they're a young person, and they're crying and they're like, I want to kill myself because I only have one leg and I can't do anything. I wish I was someone else, or I wish I was dead. Honey, you're okay the way that you are. Then he says, that's not the right story. The right story is you're way less than you could be. Now, I don't disagree with Jordan that in some cases you're way less than you could be is the right thing to say. I don't disagree with him on that. But both could be useful in maximizing well-being for yourself and those around you. So, I don't tell people this. Well, Jordan, you should tell people that in some circumstances. And in some circumstances, that is the right story. And in other circumstances, you're right. The right story is you're way less than you could be. Masha might love this one. The idea that women were oppressed throughout history is an appalling theory. Well, let's analyze this. Oppressed means subject to harsh and authoritarian treatment. The idea that women were subject to harsh and authoritarian treatment throughout history is an appalling theory. That's just true, Jordan. I mean, sure, you can say that people go too far to say that women were the only sex oppressed throughout history. And that is an appalling theory. Sure, I would agree with you on that. But this is, if Jordan actually said this might be the dumbest thing I've heard come out of an intellectual's mouth. The idea that women were oppressed throughout history is an appalling theory. Let me read this again, and we're going to reference the definition of being oppressed. And again, it's subject to harsh and authoritarian treatment. Jordan thinks it's an appalling theory that women were subject to harsh and authoritarian treatment. That's very stupid. I mean, but again, like, this is about his preciseness maxim. He can't possibly mean this. So what I would think he must mean is that the idea that women were the only ones oppressed throughout history is an appalling theory. And then here comes Mace with the apologetics. Instead of addressing what's actually written, Mace says, his position is that men and women both had roles which had fair pros and cons to them. So if you class women as oppressed, then you must class the men as oppressed too. But that's not what he says, is it? I think he's, has he, does anyone know if he's retracted this? The idea that women were oppressed throughout history is an appalling theory? That's very stupid. That's a very stupid statement. Of course, women were oppressed and men were oppressed too. Now, maybe let's throw him another bone here. Maybe he means the idea that all women were oppressed throughout history is an appalling theory. That I would agree with him. Omar West says, isn't that quote a criticism to the feminist doctrine? I don't care what it's a criticism for. It's just blindly stupid and wrong. Again, if he said the idea that some women were oppressed throughout, or that some, the idea that that all women. So if he was to say the idea that all women were oppressed throughout history, that is an appalling theory. I would agree with him. But he says the idea that women were oppressed throughout history is an appalling theory. I can already see the Jordan Peterson hardcore edgelord followers liking that and tweeting it out. Let's see if I can find a Facebook page where that's happening. The idea that women let's see. Images. No, I really want to find. Oh my God, what is this on Amazon? They're selling this quote on Amazon? What? What are they selling? This is a lined notebook. Oh my God. They're selling a lined notebook on Amazon with that quote on it. This cannot be. They're selling. You guys seriously search this quote. The idea that women were oppressed throughout history is an appalling theory. Search that on Google and click on images, and you will find that there's people buy this notebook. How many sold? I'm hopefully none. I don't know if they have those metrics on here. I don't know anything about Amazon. Oh my God. I want to buy one. Yeah, I mean, does anyone agree with that quote? Omar, you said, isn't that quote a criticism of feminist doctrine? Well, if you're going to criticize it, don't make up a lie or say something absolutely insane. I mean, if he believes the idea that women were oppressed, and again, maybe he's not clear on what oppressed means, subject to harsh and authoritarian treatment. Maybe he means all women, but that's not what it says, and that's not what's on this handy dandy lined notebook sold by Lambda Designs. What else do they have? Okay, they put quotes from the internet on notebooks. Okay. So let's be clear. This is not being sold by Jordan Peterson's people. Oh, Masha, you're the best. Yeah, that's a brain dead quote right there. And, as it's written. And look, Jordan might say, that's not what I meant. I screwed up on that one, and that's fine. And maybe he has a correction somewhere. What's this one? Oh, that's not Jordan. What's this one? Jordan says, when you move, everything is up in the air, at least for a while. It's stressful, but in the chaos, there are new possibilities. People, including you, can't hem you in with their old notions. You get shaken out of your ruts. Oh, that's really weird. When you move, everything is up in the air, at least for a while. It's stressful, but in the chaos, there are new possibilities. People, including you, can't hem you in with their old notions. You get shaken out of your ruts. People, including you, can't hem you in with their old notions. It seems like grammatical error to me. When you move, everything is up in the air, at least for a while. When you move, okay, everything is up in the air. No, that's not true. When you move, everything is not up in the air. This is a tautological statement that it just, how do you know that? Like, how do you know everything is up in the air? And what do you mean by everything? I mean, I assume you mean everything, at least for a while. Yeah, I would ask for a demonstration of this. It's stressful. So I think, okay, maybe he's talking about, okay, when you move to do something, everything is up in the air. Or maybe he's talking about when you like move homes. Do you guys know what he's talking about here? Like when you move homes, maybe? Let's read it through that lens. When you move, everything is up in the air, at least. Okay, well, let's think about this. Let's throw him a bone here. When you move, everything is up in the air, at least for a while. It's stressful. But in the chaos, there are new possibilities. People, including you, can't hem you in with their old notions. You get shaken out of your ruts. Yeah, I mean, if this was handed to me, if I was Jordan's English professor, I would send him back to kind of clarify his meaning here, to be precise, more precise, But, yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. Let's see. Strengthen. Strengthen the individual. Start with yourself. Take care of yourself. Define who you are. Refine your personality. That's great. I like this. Strengthen the individual. See, now this is clear, precise, makes sense. Strengthen the individual. Start with yourself. Take care of yourself. I mean, this could have been written, start with and take care of yourself. Define who you are. Refine your personality. Okay, these are, refining your personality. Okay, I get it. Define who you are. Well, good luck with that. As soon as you blink, your pleasure hierarchy has adjusted. Interesting. Let's see. If you betray yourself, if you say untrue things, if you act out a lie, you weaken your character. Well, we went through this lying maxim of Jordan's earlier, and this is not necessarily. If you betray yourself, okay, let's look at the concept of betray. So, betray yourself, I think he must mean it in the first usage. Expose yourself to danger by treacherously giving information to an enemy. Or if you're disloyal, I think he would have used that if he meant it in that term. Unintentionally reveal things about yourself. If you betray yourself, if you say untrue things, so sometimes you will need to say untrue things. Sometimes you may need to betray yourself. If you act out a lie, you weaken your character. Now, if you have to do all these things, you don't necessarily weaken your character. I mean, he's calling upon a subjective metric to be objective about there, but we don't get that in the quote. So I would want to ask, in what way does this weaken the character? And, I would also want to ask him what he considers one's character to be. That which is abstracted from them by other subjects, or that which they abstract from themselves. Let's see. Dress like the person you want to be. Sometimes you have to act out the person you want to be before you become it. Dress like the person you want to be. Sometimes you have to act out the person you want to be before you become it. I think you should dress dress in a way that maximizes well-being for yourself and those around you. So if you're going to wear a jock strap and nothing else to the park, I'm going to be able to make an easy well-being argument against why that's to tell you why that's bad. If you're dressing in a way that makes you feel good and doesn't infringe on the well-being of those around you, at least directly, someone can always say, your presence disgusts me. That can always be the case. No, I think that's sometimes you have to act out the person you want to be before you become it. No, yeah. Then you point to like, at what stage have you become? It's like, no, you're still changing. This is not a thing that ends and there's a line. Oh, you've crossed the line. You have now become. What, like when you get the job? Like, is that what we're talking about here? Or are we talking about like really low resolution, surface level? Dress like the person. No, this is I think this is very, very weird. dress in a way that makes you feel good, and that doesn't act antithetically against anyone else's well-being. Yeah, that's don't do that, folks. I mean, if you want to wear a suit and tie and you feel good doing that, do it. You don't need to fake anything. You're not going to fool anyone with your acting. Almost every human being is a terrible actor. Even actors who play roles, when they try to act, when they're not in front of the screen or on the stage, they still are terrible actors. Go watch what's his name, Matt Damon. He starred in the movie Rounders, where he was this poker genius. Go watch him play in the World Series of Poker. Sean says dress for success. Yes, and a mark of success would be whether you feel good in your dress. So I am making that prescription and that ought claim there that you should feel good about how you dress. And that doesn't mean feel good because I'm artistic and good. It can be feel good because I'm presenting myself in a strong way, and or feel good because I have enough pockets because I know I'm going to be planting trees today, or whatever, in serving your purposes. Good in serving your purposes. All right. Jordan Peterson says, the purpose of life, as far as I can tell, is to find a mode of being that's so meaningful that the fact that life is suffering is no longer relevant. The purpose of life, as far as I can tell, is to find a mode of being that's so meaningful that the fact that life is suffering. The presupposition that life is suffering is kind of what this entire quote is predicated on. Life is not suffering. Life is a pleasurable pursuit. If someone, the child will always ask you, why this, why that, why even go on, why? The best answer I can give is for the pleasure of doing so. It's like, oh, well, why should I even go eat anymore? For the pleasure of doing so. Why should I even go to the gym anymore? For the pleasure of doing so. Why would I even want to try to fall in love again or go date? For the pleasure of doing so. Why should I want to go and sacrifice myself for my country? For the pleasure of doing so. Why should I want to go and help my sick grandmother shovel snow for her, for the pleasure of doing so. But it's a fine answer. It is the answer. That's what's going on. Everyone wants to feel as though they're not doing things because they make them feel good. But everything we've collected, all the evidence we've collected, points to the fact that the things we do are the things we want to do. Even when we're not of sound mind, we're still operating on these systems, but the what comes out the other end seems foreign to us when we start losing our minds. Omar says, is life in a third world country a pleasurable pursuit? Yeah, of course it is. If you're starving, what is your pleasure drive telling you? I need to fucking eat. And then someone might come along and say, why do you need to eat? Well, I want to live. I don't want to die. I don't want to be sick. Why do you want to live? Why do you want to die? For the pleasure of fucking doing so, okay? I don't want to die for the pleasure of doing so. I mean, does anyone else have a better answer? God? So yeah, life is not suffering, as Jordan tries to outline in this quote. So Jordan also subscribes to this like suffering avoidance calculus. Like even when he had his conversation with Sam Harris, he's talking about like, yeah, mitigating suffering is where it's at. Like he'll like big up Sam whenever he mentions that. And he's very offended by the concept of well-being for some reason, which is weird because he's a clinician. Like that is the model in medicine that is used, functionality of body and mind in pursuing one's purposes. So, and then when you're thinking of your prescriptions in life, how do you want to look at things ontologically? Do you want to look at things like you're in this fight or flight, suffering avoidance, scurrying about, desperate to survive? Or from an ontological perspective, are you more pursuing the things that you want? So you want to live. You're not running from death. You're pursuing life. And we'll finish off today with a quote I agree with Jordan. This one just popped up. You are not obligated to associate with people who are making your life worse. Yeah, very good. You are not obligated to associate with people who are making your life worse. And this is a yeah, and take and this is good stuff. And think about how, think about your own life and think, is there anyone you're associated with that is making your life worse? And do you feel obligated to tough it out and stick with them? And why do you feel obligated to do so? Is it because they have no one else? Is there something intrinsically attaching you to that person? Oh, they're my blood. So, what is intrinsically attaching you to that person? And if the answer is nothing, then examine the realm of ought. Your moral quest. Does your moral quest allow for you to leave those who are in your life that, are making your life worse. And and in some situations, people are just, they feel that there is no escape for them because their moral quest doesn't allow for this. They must fight through it to do the good thing, which is, there's nothing intrinsically wrong about that either. Anyways, thank you guys so much for stopping by today. Make sure you drop a like after I publish. Well, you can drop a like right now, and I will publish this. And please make sure you drop a comment in the comment section under this video when it is published. I'm going to be doing these quote critiques of different intellectuals. I thought we would start with Jordan today, but I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out and chatting. And I will probably see you guys tomorrow. As always, let art and science inspire.